For our next drawing, we're going to work on the positioning spacer. It's drawing 3-4, so drawing 4 at the end of chapter 3. And this looks like it might be a difficult drawing, but actually it's quite easy. The one potential bottleneck or issue that you might run into is that it looks like you can do this drawing with offsets, but it turns out you can't. But you'll see that it's actually quite easy to make this drawing without using offsets. So let's just get started. So first of all, I'm going to take a look here and see that down at the bottom corner here we have circle of diameter 1.25, and then we have another circle of radius 1.25, and the radius of 1.25 for this circle is actually specified here. And normally, if I were doing this drawing, you'll see this on the drawing that we'll do after this, is that I would actually tag in and write 3PL, which specifies that that radius is located in 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Anyway, we have a diameter of 1.25 and a radius of 1.25. So I'm actually going to start with my gasket drawing from the previous drawing, and I'm just going to do a save as. Call this 3-4, and then go ahead and delete it. So select everything and delete. Always make sure you save as a new drawing before you delete, so you don't, in case something happens, so you don't actually delete your existing drawing. Okay, so anyway, we have a circle of radius, and I'm in the wrong layer here. Circle of radius 1.25, and then a circle of diameter 1.25. Now, located 6 inches away and at an angle of 60 degrees from horizontal, we have a circle of diameter 1. And here you can see they do tell you here that you have 2 circles of diameter 1, 1, 2. This is another way of saying what I was saying earlier. And then we have another one that's located 75 degrees past that, or at 135 degrees. So the one thing we need to check here, first of all, is our polar tracking should be set at 15 degrees. Because we'll need to be able to hit angles at 30, relatively speaking, at 30 and 45. So every 15 degrees. So what we can do here is type circle diameter, and then we can do 2 things. We could do a snap from, but we can also simply do a track. And if we want to do a track, we simply have to get a tracking line. Now, to get a tracking line, we have to come down here and turn on, go into our snap settings, and make sure track using all polar angle settings is on. Here we're only on track orthogonally. So track using all polar angle settings. And here now you can see this angle is 30 degrees. We needed 60 degrees. And once we get that 60-degree angle, we can simply type 6, hit return, and then type 1 for the diameter of the circle. And I'm going to shrink that down, make it a good size. And the other angle was 135 degrees. Right there. And again, we can type 6, hit return, and hit 1 for the diameter. Now, at these two circles, we also have circles of radius 1.25. So click on the center, we type 1.25, hit return, and then do the same thing here. Click on the center, type 1.25. Okay, so now, looking at our drawing, right here we simply have a line that's tangent. So we can draw a line that's tangent to the two circles. So we can choose line, tangent, click here, click tangent, click here. Now for this line, we simply need to make a line and shift it by 0.75. So we can simply use offset or copy. Actually, copy is easier in this case. So let's take a line, come back here, we'll select the line, we'll choose copy. And here you can see we don't have the midpoint turned on. I'm going to choose the turn on the midpoint. So to turn on the midpoint, we can come over here. Turn on the midpoint. Now we can see the midpoint. And what we want to do is we want to select, make sure the angle here is so that it's completely perpendicular. So to be perpendicular, we want that 150-degree angle. Now once we get that 150-degree angle, we can type 0.75. Now another way to do this, and potentially maybe a little simpler, is because this is a 0.5 radius circle and this is a 1.25 radius circle, the distance from the edge here to the edge here is exactly 0.75. So again, you could also move right here by 0.75, but you need to make sure that you're moving perfectly perpendicular. In any event, once you do this, all you have to do is click on this line and then click on the endpoints and shorten the line so that it ends at the intersection, just like that. Alright, so that takes care of this side. let's look at the other sides. Let's look over here. So over here we have a radius of 2.5. So that's going to be a tan radius circle. And if this is 2.5, this one has to be 3.25 because again this typical distance is 0.75. So 2.5 and 3.25. So we're going to choose our tan radius circle. Tan, and then choose 2.5. Now for this next circle, all we have to do, we don't have to do a tan radius because all we have to do is, using this center point, make a circle of radius 3.25. And by the way, when you see this, you may think that something's wrong, but this is actually correct because if you recall, these circles are of diameter 1, but this one is of diameter 1.25. Okay, so looking back at the drawing, here we're going to have a tan radius circle. But we don't actually have to draw that because the center is going to be here. And in fact, we know that this circle was a radius of 6. And the radius of this circle is 1.25. So this circle has to be of a diameter of 7.25. So we can just go ahead and create that. So circle diameter 7.25. Oh, excuse me. Should be radius of 7.25. Circle radius 7.25. And you can see how that circle is identically tangent with these 2 points. The line inside here, if this is 7.25, this has to be 6.5 because again that typical distance is 0.75. So circle radius 6.5. Now from here, all we have to do is start deleting. Or excuse me, trimming. Or deleting using trim. So we choose trim, and I'm first going to select all of these original 6 circles that we put in. I'm going to hit enter. And we'll delete the large outside circles first. And then we'll start deleting what we can from the inside circles. Now, depending on where you delete, you may end up with a segment that you can't actually trim. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So if I delete this and then this, this will delete properly. So I can delete this and then delete this. If, however, I delete this first, when I go to delete this, I can't delete it because it's a separate line segment now. That's not a problem. Because once we get to this point, after we hit escape to get out of our trim, we can simply select it and then delete it. So after we get to this point, we can choose trim again, and now we're going to choose all these connecting lines, and then we're going to delete the segments of the circles in between them. Oh, and I forgot the ones down here, so let's go back and do that again. Delete that and delete that. Okay, so the final thing we need to do, we see here the rounds and fillets, R is 0.5. So we need to put a radius of 0.5 on all of these rounds and fillets. So we're going to use our fillet command. Do we choose fillet? We're going to type R space 0.5. Now here we're going to use our multiple command. So we type M for multiple. And now we can just walk our way around the drawing, clicking on either side of each corner to put in the fillet. Alright, so at this point the drawing is complete except for our center marks, and in this case we do actually have center marks. So let's go ahead and change our we have center line, so we're going to change our center mark to a center line. Go into our center layer, choose our center line, choose our center line, and choose our center line. And in this case, we have this line that goes straight up, and then the two lines at the angles. So let's go ahead and draw those in as well. Come back to AutoCAD, go into line, so from the center here. Now, when you're drawing in lines such as this, after you put your center marks in, you need to be careful that you actually start your line on the center, because it's very easy to say accidentally start your line on one of these corners. So we come into the center, make sure we're clicking on the center. I'm going to zoom up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the edge here and then extend out by, in this case I'm going to extend out by 1 inch. I'm going to type 1 and hit enter. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Click here, I'm going to go straight up. Click on this point, then type 1 and hit enter. Now it looks like, nope, I was going to say it looks like we're not in the center 2. However, we are. Though it's coming out all green for some reason. And finally, from our center, click on the edge, and then extend out by 1. And then actually I hit escape instead of enter. I'll click here and extend out by 1. Okay, so there we have our drawing. And this is now complete. We're going to go ahead and save it. Save as. We've already previously saved it as 3/4, so it's already there. We can simply click save. If you want to replace it, yes.